All right, welcome back to another episode of the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host for today, Randy Angston, joined by Mr. Zach Columbia.
All right.
Have you ever been to Columbia?
No. Spelled differently. Which one? Which one? The country?
No, it's come up because a couple of people that we've worked with lately, one of them's in the event space. Tim and I were talking to after we went to Ben's event, and he was helping us a little bit line out our next growth summit for Chicago. He was in Columbia, and so he's like, he loves it. He's been there for a while. Says you guys got to come visit. It's like the digital entrepreneurial nomad like capital of the world right now. He said everything from the location, the beauty of it all, like the food, the cost, like he's just absolutely raved. Like he was trying to sell us on going there. So
I should move there and
really throw everyone off.
Yeah. Nobody would believe me. I'd be like, I'm Zach Columbia. They'd be like,
what?
Yeah.
Is this yours? All right, we've got a really good episode for you guys today. Something that's extremely applicable. We've gone through it here at this facility. You've gone through it in yours, and
hopefully,
hopefully you've gotten to the other side of it. Yeah, but after so long, you've got a team of people, you've got a team working for you, with you, and sometimes, just after so long, routine sets in, comfort sets in, things start to happen. Staff isn't as diligent about checking every one of the boxes that are on their roles and responsibilities and things like that.
Let's just call it what it is. The team gets lazy.
Boom. All right, Zach can throw him under the bus. It's but we're gonna give some specifics on kind of maybe a situation how it occurred here. Kind of give you guys some a game plan for kind of navigating. If you find yourself in that same position, how to go about, having the conversation with the team, having to reel the team in, if you may. And it could be something that's scary, right? You as the business owner don't want to ruffle feathers. You don't want to watch, we all know how difficult it is to have good qualified trainers right now and find good team members. And the last thing you want to do is do something that, rocks the boat and you end up losing staff. So we're going to get into that, and Zach's going to have some, specifics on how we've gone about it here at Legacy.
Yeah. Well, I think our business really is so energy dependent.
Sure.
And so like your clients are coming into the gym and they're interacting with the team, the staff, the coaches, right, daily. And so you want kind of this, I guess, this baseline of energy that's just like positive, that's felt consistently, like when your clients come into the gym. You want to avoid these like peaks and valleys, right? Because the clients feel that. They pick up on that.
Absolutely.
And so a major challenge in managing humans, right, is creating creating less variation in that energy. Always having it be not too high, because you can't match that every single day, but definitely not too low and not wavy, right? Oh, yeah. You just want it to be consistent, good energy in your facility.
The Icarus.
so that it doesn't negatively impact the clients, and so the clients don't pick up on that, right?
There you go.
But you're dealing with humans. So coaches are going to get lazy. They're going to forget to do things. They're going to, make a mistake. They're going to need course correction.
Sometimes life happens, right?
Sometimes life happens.
Things outside of the business that just it's impacting that individual enough to where it's difficult for them to wash it at the door, type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They can't check it at the door, and so it comes in. But a major challenge of a manager, director, gym owner is being able to do a course correction without negatively impacting the energy and the morale of the team.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
So that it doesn't trickle down to then the clients.
Yeah. The last thing you want them is turning around and even expressing it or just that energy shift to the clients.
Yeah, well, and then over the last 4 years, it's devastating if one of your coaches leaves because it's been so hard to replace a coach. And it's not like there's just this giant, ocean of coaches to select from, especially not good ones. And so that's this other thing is like, am I just, as a gym owner or manager, am I just going to let that go? Am I just going to let that slide in fear of pushing a coach out the door, right? Especially because this generation, let's face it, like there's some challenges with this generation. You could bring something up to you, it's no big deal. And then all of a sudden this coach is like, peace out, you offended me and I can't work here anymore.
And that's tough because, I mean, obviously we all know that, we've all seen the gym owners. Many of you guys have experienced yourself. Nobody wants to be handcuffed by their staff, and the training staff. And quite often I think that gym owners do feel that because the importance of that position in the business, right? The trainer is a pivotal role in the business. And if you do end up ruffling feathers and they do end up choosing to leave, are you back on the training floor? Does it,
major concern.
Yeah, there's a lot of variable that come with that, possibility. And so quite often we find instead of doing something, they do nothing.
Yeah.
And obviously that's kicking the can down the road, and it's going to snowball effect. I mean, you're going to have a bigger problem eventually. Yeah. When everything does come to head. So how do you go about it? How do you address it?
Yeah. So I think, let me just kind of give you guys like a little story that happened recently. One of our coaches is taking some tests, some classes to get into physical therapy school.
Okay.
And they're fast track classes, and she failed her final.
Oh,
okay. So I'm an empathetic person, right? I'm like, okay, she's got a lot going on. That's heavy, right? She's got to retake the class, all of that. And so our coaches are responsible at the end of their shift for texting 3 clients. And then they drop it into our team chat, the 3 clients that they text. So if somebody forgets, one of the coaches is going to remember, drop it in the text, and then everybody remembers and they send the text, right? So over the course of a month, text messages from her kind of got inconsistent, right? Like some days she was doing it, some days she wasn't doing it. And I'm like, okay, I know she's got a lot going on. I'll just remind her, hey, make sure you're doing these texts, right? And then all of a sudden, like a week goes by and there's no text messages after I've already reminded her 2 or 3 times, right? Mm-hmm. And just like side note, I know I've heard Rick Mayo say this. I think I've heard John Farkas say this. It's like your job is just to be the chief reminding officer, right? If you're in a leadership role, it's like you can identify a problem, come up with the solution, your team's executing on it, and then they'll stop doing the solution. And it's like you're just constantly in this loop.
Especially when it works.
Especially when it works, you stop doing it, right? So you're just like, build that into your management, your leadership style of just like constantly be reminding the team, because the second you stop, they're going to stop, right? And then it's no big deal when you're constantly reminding them. It's just like part of the culture, right? It's a part of their expectation. But anyway, so back to our coach. So like week went by, I'm like, okay, now I've already reminded her multiple times and she's still not doing it, right? There were some other stuff with the team that was getting missed. Like now all of a sudden, a couple of the other coaches start forgetting to send text messages, right? So are they forgetting, or are they like, well, she's not doing it, I'm not doing it, right? So that's how these things work. That's how this happens.
It's a snowball effect.
Let's see. So along with that, some sessions start getting missed. Like they're not checking out their clients. So after they train their clients, they go into Mind Body, they check them out, right? Say, okay, this client was here, we trained them, boom, right? So at the end of the day, sessions aren't checked out. Like that starts happening. We have these fancy lights in our gym. Like I come in a couple times and the lights are different colors instead of the blue and yellow that match our brand. They're always there. Very small thing, right? We have diffusers going in our gym. Coach is responsible for setting those up. Make sure it smells nice in here when clients come in, right? Some days they're running. Some days only 1 or 2 of them's running. Like little things, right? The team's just getting lazy. but those are red flags to me.
It could be at the end of the day, and just to preface everything that's happening, they seem, each of those are kind of, if one of those things happen, if one of those happened, it probably would go unnoticed by most of the clientele. But now you start to add a couple of those problems. Now the client experience that the brand, exactly. Our clients are walking in and they're not getting what they're accustomed to because there's 5 different variables that are now happening as opposed to, maybe the one that got missed once in a while or something like that. But, it's starting to spill over and it's starting to become a bigger issue than just the one, slip up once in a while or something like that. And that's that snowball effect. Now it's becoming a much bigger problem because it's going to start showing, like the clients are going to start experiencing that, and it's going to leave a negative impact on the experience the clients are receiving.
100%.
And we have to curb that stuff.
That's exactly like 1 miss, 2 misses, right? Okay, you got this coach has something going on. They forgot. They showed up a little bit, instead of 15 minutes early, they were 10 minutes early, and they prepped for the training session instead of turning a diffuser on, right? Like, okay, you probably made the right decision. Now make sure you show up
now get back
early
to
do it. And that's where the reminding comes in, right?
Yep.
But then all of a sudden it like gets to a certain point where you're like, okay, time for course correction. How do we handle that? So here's what I did, right? I brought the team into a meeting, and this was perfect because the one coach that like never misses any of the things that I asked him happened to be out of town. Now I would have had her be in the meeting, but the fact that she was gone, it was like, great. I've got all the rest of the coaches who are all missing little things. So time for a course correction, right? Sure. Perfect opportunity. So I bring them into our normal meeting format, which is always important, right? Like it's built into the system already to have weekly meetings and check-ins, and it's built into our culture to always identify a problem or thing that we need to improve upon.
An opportunity,
right? We always discuss that. Mm-hmm. Every meeting, we have that built in already. So it's not outside of the norm for us to say, hey guys, we got to as a reminder, this is an important part of our client experience. Let's focus on this and make sure we're doing a really good job here this week, right? So I bring the team in. First thing I want to do is take responsibility, right? Take personal responsibility for everything that happens in your life. The world would be a much better place if everybody did that, right?
Yep.
And I mean, to the extreme.
Yep.
To the extreme level, right? It's like, oh, there's nothing I can do about traffic. Well, you could have got up 30 minutes earlier and left 30 minutes earlier and not got stuck in traffic. That's taking the ownership and the responsibility on yourself. Sitting next to an obese person on an airplane, it's not the airline's fault. It's not the obese person's fault. It's your fault that you couldn't afford to fly first class. That's what I'm talking about 100%. Here, right? Like that should be your leadership style. So I bring the team in and I say, hey guys, I want to have an honest discussion. You can speak freely, provide me with honest, open feedback.
Safe
right?
Space. Yep.
Do you appreciate the way that I manage you? And is there anything that you would like me to change about that?
There you go.
Okay.
That takes gumption. You have to have some I don't even know where I'm going with that, but you have to be vulnerable to take that feedback, to know that ultimately if there is something that you could change that would help them, you're willing to do that. I will
do that first, correct, right? Because I'll take responsibility and say, okay, the reason they're screwing up, they're being lazy is because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Sure.
Okay. So they're like, no, we like your management style. We appreciate it. We know what the expectation is. I'm like, okay. So you would all agree that you understand, you like the way that I manage you. I don't micromanage you. You know what's expected. So you all agree that, or I said, does anybody not know what's expected of them? Like the expectations that I've set, do you guys not know what's expected of you, one, or are you not confident that you know how to fulfill on that?
There you go.
Right? So these are self-directed questions towards me first. And they're like, no, I know what is expected of me, right? I'm like, okay, I've got a problem, right? So we're going to talk about it right now. And so I just start calling them out on things that are getting missed. I was like, I want to take responsibility first. We've established that you guys appreciate the way I manage you and you know what's expected of you. You guys are professionals. Here's what's been going on. You are not texting your clients. even though you are without excuse, because every day there's a reminder that goes out that tells you, hey, text your clients, right? You're not checking training sessions out. How do you do that every single day for a year and then forget, right? Like, what happened there? You're not turning the lights on. You're getting sloppy. You're, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you guys know what's expected of you. Take personal responsibility and fix those things right now.
Yeah.
Right. And they're all like, okay. Right. And no problem since. Now it'll happen again, right? Like we'll go 6 months, we'll go a year, and those things will start to pop up, and I'll remind them, and then we'll just kind of repeat this process. But now it's like everything's back on track. Client experience is what it's supposed to be. The accountability is there for the clients, like all of those things. So,
and you've created, again, like, we always use the word system, right? Like, that is a system where it doesn't matter the problem that came up, right? And whether it be the lights, a diffuser, whether it be checking clients in or out, anything that is on their roles and responsibilities that can come up, this is the process in order to address those. And I think that just by creating that uniform, like, every time that stuff starts to happen, exactly what you as the manager, director in this position has to do in order to right the ship. You know what I mean? It's not one-off stuff. You're not going at one individual personally and, making them the example without, first having that open dialogue and that conversation, first taking that ownership and responsibility yourself. And I think that's crucial. I mean, that's important, because at the end of the day, the last thing from an employee standpoint, nobody wants to be thrown under the bus. Nobody wants to be made the example without, the conversation. Anybody can take responsibility when it's done that way. Right? Well, you've already shown the vulnerability, already put yourself in a place to where it's almost like meeting them eye to eye, right? Like, hey, if there's something I can do that can help you do your job better, please, let's have that conversation first. But if that's not the case, if it's literally just you're getting sloppy, you're forgetting, well, then all of a sudden that's where that ownership has to be passed down or, across to them. And they have really, you've left them with almost no other opportunity.
Exactly. I gave them no excuse not to take responsibility for it. And we have, like I told them in that meeting, guys, when we hire a new coach, I make them a promise. When I'm onboarding them, I say, hey, every quarter we're going to do performance reviews. I am never going to come in here and just destroy you in a performance review. They're designed to be developmental, right? So we're not going to talk about any of the negative things in a performance review. We're going to talk about how you can get better, right? How you can get 1% better over this next quarter. So in this meeting with the coaches, I was like, guys, it's time for me to put together your performance reviews. I have promised each of you that I'm not going to hammer you. Fix this now.
Yep.
Right? Fix this now so that you can get your bonus, and that we can talk about things that we can do to get better instead of fixing things that you already know you need to be doing. And I think we know it came up recently in our Iron Circle is coaches usually their pay isn't directly impacted necessarily by performance of the gym. As a business owner, or if you're commission based or whatever, it's like you start screwing up, you immediately feel the financial feedback from that. A lot of times coaches, it's like, oh, you lost 5 clients this month.
It doesn't change
their pay, right? At least not in our model where we've got semi-private. So, and so there's, the point is you're the one that's holding them accountable. I'm the one that has to hold the coaches accountable in that situation, because if I don't, there's really nothing that it would be like having a widowmaker heart attack that was unexpected, right? It's like all the warning signs were there, but you didn't know it. And then all of a sudden, boom, it got you, shocking, right?
Yeah.
So with your coaching staff, it'd be like, oh, well, we didn't correct any of these problems. And now I'm firing you because I'm laying you off because now financially we can't afford to keep you as a coach. Don't do that to your team, right? Be a good leader and make sure they know what's expected of them, remind them constantly, course correct them constantly. And then they understand, one, maybe even if they don't understand it, you've protected them from being like, hey, your hours are cut, you got to go, whatever. But but just build it into your culture of like, hey guys, I'm just going to make sure you're always on track.
Yeah.
If you start to slip, we're going to correct it. And then having that built into your culture, now you're not going to have a coach that like pouts and the clients feel it, right? It doesn't bring down the morale or the energy of the gym. It's just like, oh, yep, okay. Like, I know what's expected of me. I'm just going to go about my normal business and fix those couple things.
And you guys have, like you mentioned, and it is a pivotal aspect of the business that you guys run here. You have weekly team meetings. Everybody's involved. It's a across the table conversation. Everybody's part of it. It's not just, you're not just pulling somebody into the office and having that course correction with one individual, right? That I think is part of a system that's important, right? It's constant. So it could be every week that you have to remind them on just certain aspects.
We do. It's built in.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so from their end of the spectrum or their end of the conversation, it's not like they're just getting hit with something that, came out of the blue. You know what I mean? It's almost like every week we can expect, okay, here's all the things that we can work on and we can get better on and we can aim forward with. But at the same time, there's a small portion of the job that we do just have to remind them because certain things just get overlooked over time, and to have it consistent where you almost, even if it was every week, you know what I mean, you just had those certain things that you were observing and could bring to the table. I think it helps mitigate that, like you said, the highs and lows, the peaks and valleys of their emotional state, of their energy level, of the things. They turn around and go back to the training floor. They're not doing it with like a ton of arrows in their back. They're like, all right, cool. Yeah, it's another meeting. And I know, okay, let me go put a little bit more time and attention on some of these things that were forgotten. But let's go right back to doing what we know we do. And it's like, like the standard that you guys have, right?
Yep.
If they're not executing those items on the standard that every client can expect walking through the door, that's the roles and responsibilities of their job. And then they can then if it does continue down a path, they have no excuse but to take ownership and understand that I failed to do the tasks on my job. And ultimately, that's a repercussion of that. But the consistent fact that it's not, like, I guess the reason I'm saying it is, if you don't have consistent team meetings in your business, that's probably the first thing you need to do is create a level playing field where every single week, or maybe bi-weekly if you're just starting off or something like that, but have a place where you can have those consistent conversations, bring in both the opportunity for growth and new, things, but also a place where you can systemize talking about the suck of it, right? Some of those things that just, guys, we got to remember this. We got to focus on this. We can't let this slip. And it doesn't, while it keeps that level of importance around it, it doesn't hit them in a way that it's like, oh my God, I suck at my job. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, hey, I got to do better.
Yeah. If it's not built in to your structure, like the standard, right, is probably 90% of the curriculum that we use in a team meeting. So it's like, every week we'll pick out one item off of the standard. It's like, okay, leadership, right? Okay, guys, this week I really want you to focus on leadership. Here's where I think we can improve a little bit, right? And then the next week we go to, hey, we want to start and end every session on time. Make sure you guys are doing that, right? Like, be meticulous about it. And it's just a reminder. You just go through the curriculum and we just recycle it all the time. But that's built in. And we have our team meeting on Mondays. On Tuesdays, we do like a quick little 10 to 15 minute like upload, which is like a little micro meeting with the team, and then we record a podcast. On Thursdays, we do coach to coach with it, where a coach is teaching the rest of the team Or, you know, we talked about that in another episode where if they want to change something about the programming or whatever, they do a little mini presentation, bring it before like the tribunal. And then we decide as a team, like, hey, is that, you know, carry weight or not? Should we make that change or no?
That idea sucked. You're voted off the island.
Yes, exactly. And then Fridays we do a team workout. So it's like I'm in front of the team 4 days a week for at least an hour of time. If that's not built in to our schedule, I'm probably not being the leader that I need to be. I'm not in front of the team because the time's not on my calendar. It's not designated.
Those things aren't going to happen.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like you don't have the opportunity, or you know, as the manager, director running around trying to find the time to have that conversation. Those, you know, again, every business is busy. There's always something happening, but if you don't create the time to address those things, much like everything else, I mean, we talk about forcing the calendar all of the time. You're going to be trying to put out those fires with whatever time is designated or left over, I should say, not designated, left over at the end of the day. And then that's when you're going to run into variable. And then again, it's not a system. So is that conversation with that coach the same way that you would address it with another coach or with the whole team? That's where variable comes into play. And I think that's where a lot of gym owners find that fear around having the conversation around corrective action.
Yeah.
Because it's they don't know how to systemize it or how to do it in a way that doesn't necessarily, I don't want to say put them at risk, but you do risk the how that coach is going to take it and what they're going to do with that information.
Well, and so like if, let's say I have that meeting and then the problem isn't solved, then I got to take it to the one-on-one level.
Absolutely.
But it's easier to get the whole team when everybody kind of has room for improvement, right? And say, hey, it's part of our culture. Like, everybody do better, right? Yeah. And it's global and nobody feels like, oh, they're just picking on me. Now if it doesn't get fixed, right? Like you can give reminders to people individually, right? But that's kind of the process. It'd be like reminder. Hey, team, we got to solve this problem.
Yep.
Like you guys aren't performing in this area. If one of us isn't doing a good job at this, then it impacts the business negatively and you're hurting the whole entire team. Now there's accountability, not just to me, to the whole team. And then if they don't fix it now, we got a bigger problem and we got to go one-on-one and, do the whole thing, which is you don't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
So build it into your culture and have the, so you don't ever have to get to that point. Because once you go to that next escalation, that one-on-one level, now you guarantee that morale is going to come down, performance on the training floor is going to come down, your clients are going to start to see a difference, and you have to basically go through these legal steps, document everything to be able to get rid of that employee. Don't do that, right? Yeah. Like if avoid that at all costs, because there is no good that comes out of that situation.
Yeah, and so to Zach's point, right, build in a system, build in the opportunity ahead of having to do those one-offs, right, where you can have a team loaded conversation. Everybody kind of shares the burden. Because I mean, even if you're bringing that attention that maybe one individual is not bringing it, executing those tasks, you're doing it in a group environment where it's not focused on like, you're not sitting here grilling one person. It's a team, like carrying. It's like carrying the log. You know what I mean?
Everybody can do better.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Like this is something we need to focus on right now. We as a team need to address this. This isn't happening. Let's go address this. And you're. It's almost like, not attacking that one individual,
Correct.
Even, you know what I mean, to single them out and make them feel any different. And the fact of the matter is, if they're slipping in this realm, what says that this next coach isn't going to have the same issue or, the same ability to forget that task?
It's a teaching opportunity to prevent it from spreading.
Exactly. And so I think that's massively valuable. Obviously, that's what we wanted to share with you guys today is create systems, and we're going to pound this home. I mean, this is the systems has created the success of this facility, and this is what we teach gym after gym after gym, whether it be our coaching program. We preach this with our Iron Circle every day. A lot of these conversations we know are happening in all of the other gyms as well, and these are successful gyms. These are gyms that have it figured out, that aren't struggling. They're not the newest ones out there, and if it's happening there, you can guarantee that, if you're not at that level of success, it's probably happening in your gym a little bit more. And so take what Zach said, build in an opportunity, build some structure around it. He gave you the format for how to go do those team meetings and how to bring that stuff to the team's table, correct those problems, and hopefully, you mitigate a lot of that, the real risks that happens when it comes to kind of singling somebody out and ruffling feathers. The last thing you want, I mean, hell, the worst case scenario is you have that one-off conversation. They turn around, now they're sharing that with the clients. Oh, I just got blasted in our team meeting, or I just got blasted. Zach was mad at me because I haven't been doing this. And then like the last thing any client ever wants to hear is any of that stuff. And I think this is a great way of mitigating that across the board.
If that ever happens,
now you're moving down that path real fast.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to add to the conversation there?
That's it.
All right. Well, as always, Thank you for joining us for another Built to Grow episode. We'll see you on the next one.
All right. And thank you for listening to that episode of the Built to Grow podcast, where we help gym owners win. Now, do you want to connect with me and other gym owners online? All you need to do is join our private Facebook group, Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. Just head on over to Facebook and type in Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. And when you do, we're going to give you our 10 marketing strategies 7-figure gym owners use to win. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep building something great.